Over a year ago, I made a video talking about if Asta was overpowered or not, and gave my reasons for why. I didn't really think that he was overpowered at the time. I believe I did say, while Asta himself wasn't really overpowered, it was more so him combined with somewhat overpowered anti-magic swords is what made him very strong, but just not overpowered. But it is still quite common for many fans and non-fans of Black Clover alike to say that Asta's anti-magic that he was given is the most overpowered power or ability in the series. And even though this title is more of a question, I'm just going to give you the answer first and then give you the reasons after. Is Asta's anti-magic overpowered? Well, actually, I'm not going to give you the answer first. I'll just explain, because maybe I'll upgrade the watch time a bit more in this video. Now, the thing is that there are other powers and abilities in the series that are much more broken than the anti-magic swords. So, it's important to note that Asta's ability with his anti-magic has drastically improved since the beginning of the series, especially with the introduction of the 6-month time skip, but I'll be going over much of Asta's progressions from the very beginning, as it will essentially prove the point of is it overpowered or not. First, it'd be best to talk about what is overpowered. I generally use overpowered for anyone or anything that is in the top 3 of anything in the series. If someone isn't a top 3 strongest character, they're not overpowered. If an ability is in the top 3, then they're not overpowered. And that's a pretty conservative definition. But like, if you're gonna say something's overpowered and it's not even in the top 3, then that's pretty garbage to say. But like I said, it is a conservative definition because, and if you used overpowered as it's used in video games like Call of Duty, it's generally for the best gun or best ability in a game. It's often much more powerful than any other gun or ability in that game. One Man Army Noob Tube is overpowered because it made bad players good and good players unstoppable. Dual-wielding Model 1887s and Modern Warfare 2 were overpowered because they could one-shot somebody from across the map at long, mid, or short range, which caused them to turn bad players into good players and good players into unstoppable players. In the beginning of the series is a good quality mage. If you give him the anti-magic swords, does this make him unstoppable? Absolutely not. He doesn't have the physical strength to even wield them. They would actively absorb his mana in the process as well. Giving the Nash, a below average mage, would be pointless as he wouldn't even be able to lift them either. So when you take the definition of kind of like how overpowered is in video games like Call of Duty, the anti-magic swords cannot be overpowered because they only fit a specific niche that, most people can't even use them anyways. Now, if you give Nash Elven level of mana, he becomes a boss. Give Nash Asha's level of physical strength, he's a boss. Give Nash the anti-magic swords though, he's worse off than before. Let's even do a real-life comparison. If I got the anti-magic swords, even though I'm an ex-collegiate athlete and an advanced weightlifter, I'm not going to be able to wield the swords. And very likely, probably not even going to be able to lift them off the ground. Whereas, even if I was given the amount of mana that Magna has, he's just got commoner level mana, I'd be easily hundreds of times faster, stronger, and more durable with many other additional abilities. Now, people say this comparison isn't fair. And this is just cherry-picking circumstances that their statement will be, is if anybody who can wield the swords, they're going to be overpowered. And that makes them overpowered. And better off than if they had magic. However, that simply isn't the case. If Asta had magic, he'd be drastically stronger than his current self. He would just be without the hacks that the anti-magic offers him. Now in the beginning, Asta's Demon Slayer sword actually slows him down. This is shown perfectly in the Mars fight, as he was too slow to parry Mars attacks, which led to him getting the Demon Dweller sword and being able to be fast enough to parry the attack. So, in order for Asta to get anti-magic, he has to sacrifice his ability to sense mana, which is a very important ability. He wields a sword that slows him down and grants him no additional power boost at first. For the ability to slice magical attacks if they are small enough, and reflect magical attacks if he is strong enough to reflect them. Does that really sound that overpowered? Remember, if the attacks are too big, he won't be able to cut them right. If the attacks are too strong, he won't be able to reflect them. Remember, reflecting is a part of his physical strength combined with the anti-magic, not just the anti-magic. And remember, if it's too fast for him to react to the attack to negate it or reflect it, then the swords are useless. And like I said, people assume that Asta can just reflect any spell. He can't. He has to be relatively stronger to the attack. The 5 elf combo spell, it took energy out of Asta to reflect that. Asta couldn't reflect Dark Elf Patry's Ray Divine Punishment spell without Yuno's help, which proves that Asta has to be a relative strength to knock it back. Is this really overpowered? Getting rid of mana sensing, reinforcement magic, and making yourself slower just to have anti-magic? No. anti-magic is not overpowered, especially in the beginning of when the character gets it. If Asta were just given mana, he would be much better off, especially in the beginning. For example, in the beginning of the series, if Asta was just given Magna's amount of mana, he would be able to make himself hundreds of times faster and stronger at the very least, whereas the Demon Slayer sword makes him slower and gives him some hacks. Yeah, the magical Asta. So for example, give Asta, at the beginning of the series, the amount of mana that Magna has, and have him fight against Asta with the Demon Slayer sword. So magical Asta with no anti-magic versus anti-magic Asta, the main one in the series. The beginning of the series though. The Asta with mana and magic, he would absolutely destroy the anti-magic Asta, the real Asta that we see. It wouldn't even be a comparison. If you remove the anti-magic from Asta, he is still a capable knight, being fast enough to outrun Captain Miraliona's Mana Zone spells, strong enough to knock back Third Eye Raya with a punch, and having higher durability than Raya in his base form. This is Asta without his sword. Meanwhile, if Asta lost his physical strength and he was reverted back to that of an average human levels of strength in Black Clover, he would be an absolutely useless character who couldn't even use the swords whatsoever. People will say that anti-magic is overpowered because it could defeat Veto. Well, remember, it's what is wielding the sword. What is moving the swords around at high speeds? Asta and his physical strength. Also, Asta was being aided by Finral's portals and Vanessa's streams, making him faster and more sporadic with his movements as he was teleporting around the area. I'm sorry, but you can't call anti-magic overpowered if it took Vanessa and Finral's aid, 2 mistakes from Veto, one being he tried to cause despair instead of just immediately defeating them, and the other being he let himself getting stabbed by the Demon Dweller sword, which sapped a bunch of his mana. And Asta's key, just for Veto, to not even be technically defeated anyways, as it was Yami who ultimately defeated him with the Dimension Slash. Now you might say that the black form is so great as well as Black Divider, but you can't even access that through normal anti-magic control. Asta could only use the black form once his blood was activated by the Witch Queen or paired with Ki, which is another thing here. Asta uses another ability, called Ki of course, which further cheapens the overpoweredness, quote-unquote overpoweredness, of the anti-magic. Without Ki, there's no black form. Again, further showing how reliant anti-magic is on external sources, whereas mana isn't reliant on external sources. If you're physically weak, mana is still going to help you a lot. If you don't have Ki, mana is still going to help you a lot. Whereas with anti-magic, if you don't have physical strength, if you don't have Ki, it's not going to be that great of a help. So without Ki, there's no black form. And also, humans get mana at a younger age than 15, which is when Asta got it. They have a lot more time to get control over it, and then they get to the point where they can use reinforcement magic, mana skin, and mana zone, and if they reach stage 3, they can use arrays by creating runes. Magic is much more versatile than anti-magic, and usually when Asta discovers a new ability, there's usually a huge drawback to it. Black form is like a magnet that he can't even control, and has a massive stamina drain with only a limited amount of uses per day. Black Divider drains even more stamina, and at first it's incredibly hard to control as he accidentally strikes the first Wizard King Lumiere. Asta's new 3-horn black form is something that he likely doesn't have control over at all yet. Even worse, Asta can't get his anti-magic energy stores brought back by recovery mages. He has to get back up on his own merit, unlike other mages. Sure, is the anti-magic very potent as of today? Yeah, it really actually is pretty strong. Black Divider, Black Slash, Fate Release, and more. It's very strong, of course, but we need to remember that it is paired with someone who is likely the most strongest character in the series when it comes to physical strength. He was second at the time of the Witch's Forest arc, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has surpassed Yami, since it seems a lot of Yami's recent training is more focused on magic rather than physical strength. Anti-magic is incredibly reliant on Asta being the hardest worker, being the physically one of the strongest, and using Ki as the main gauge to control it in any proper way. Imagine Asta with time magic, light magic, or dream magic. Asta with any of these 3 magic types would be far stronger and faster with even better sensing abilities and reaction times than the current Asta. Anti-magic only amps Asta's physical abilities a paltry many times, since this was stated in the guidebook for Yuno's Spirit Dive, and Black Asta is a direct parallel transformation to that. Whereas Yuno's base mana would easily make him hundreds or maybe even 1,000 times stronger, as he is able to move at insane speeds and do insane feats before even learning mana skin. Remove the many times amp of anti-magic and the hacks and replace it with the many thousands of times amp with light magic, and that'd be even more with mana skin, mana zone, and using arrays. This magically amped Asta would destroy his former anti-magic powered self. This leads to the final conclusion here. This is something I tweeted the other day. The most overpowered thing in Black Clover isn't anti-magic, it is physical strength. This is something that Asta and Yami have used to an advantage for a while. Klaus is catching on, and other characters like Mereoleona and Veto are quite strong as well. But think here for a second. Asta in his base form is moving faster than a captain level mana zone attack from Mereoleona, surviving an attack that damaged base Raya and then caused him to heal, and with a punch knocked back third eye Raya doesn't defeat, all achieved through base physical strength. Imagine if Yuno had trained in the same manner as Asta did. Take Asta's physical strength and give it to Yuno. Yuno is now by far the most powerful character in the series, it's not even close. Base Asta is very likely in the stage 0 range based on his performance against Glutton Charmy, someone stage 0 Patruff had no hope in stopping. Now imagine this being amplified by the many times that Mana can do. Give Noelle Asta's level of physical strength. She is now the most broken character in the series by far. The real weapon here, the real power here, is physical strength. If people train from a young age, their power would be dramatically increased. This is why anti-magic is not overpowered at all. It's a very niche power. It is balanced, and it still needs to be improved. Physical strength is what makes anti-magic what it is. You can't even use it without physical strength. You can't even use it properly without ki. This makes anti-magic extremely balanced compared to other magics. Time magic is more broken. Red Thread of Fate is more broken. Dream magic is more broken. Light magic is more broken. Offensive spatial magic is more broken than anti-magic, because when you start, you get one sword that slows you down, you can't sense other people's mana, and you have to be physically strong to use it. Over time, anti-magic sure does get better, but then again, a lot of that is not because of anti-magic itself, it's because somebody is using ki to use the anti-magic better. So if there's no ki, maybe anti-magic stays stagnant and doesn't get really much stronger over time. But even now, even with Asta now after the time skip, his power is not broken. Is it very strong? Fate releases incredibly broken anti-magic spell, yeah, but he still isn't the most overpowered character. He is not completely overpowered because he's probably the most physically strong character, and then give him anti-magic on top of that, yet he still gets destroyed by Dante. So I cannot put anti-magic in the top 3 category for powers and abilities. Physical strength is above anti-magic. And then you have light magic, time magic, offensive spatial magic. They're all better than anti-magic as a whole. This doesn't mean that Asta would lose to people with said magic types. It just means that his physical strength and his ki is doing the majority of the work here. It's a proven fact, guys. If Asta can do what he did to Raya with his base physical strength, the anti-magic, it's kind of just like a supplement. It's not his main driving force. So, yes, anti-magic, it is not overpowered. It's not even close to being overpowered. And this whole notion that Asta is given the most overpowered, most broken power from the beginning of the series, it's a false notion. It's a falsehood. It's not true. It's not overpowered. It's very balanced. It's very niche. It's very easily proven to not be overpowered. Like I said, give the anti-magic swords, it does nothing. Give him the physical strength, he becomes a god. Remove the swords from Asta, he's still a capable knight. Remove the physical strength from Asta, and he's just an average Joe. So, there's more than enough evidence to prove anti-magic is not at all overpowered. Mana, actually, as a whole, is way more overpowered because it's way less niche, there's way less restrictions and drawbacks, and there's so much more versatility to it, way easier to control. You don't need ki to control mana, you just need to practice your mana control, whereas you basically need ki to improve anti-magic control to a very significant ability. So with that being said, guys, let me know your thoughts down below, but the anti-magic ability in Black Clover, the way it's displayed for Asta, it is not overpowered, it's not even close. But hope you guys all have an amazing day, hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Plus...